Hello everyone, this is showcase around Thrawn Warlock. This is one of the best casters in the game at the moment. I'm gonna show you my version of my idea how this is supposed to be played as a hardcore character. Let's start first with the gear. So standard 3-piece, the whole set of Thrawn Warlock. Basically this converts devastation to elemental damage and chaos bolt as well to elemental damage. Set includes weapon, amulet and offhand. Currently offhand is corrupted for a physical resistance. Ideally we want one to Arcanist, but I'm gonna take the physical res. My armor of choice is Fate Weaver armor. I test several and I think this one is by far the best. I just have to reroll a little bit more for better physical resistance, but I leave this one because it has a high roll on the rest, but definitely I can spend a little bit more time to optimize this one. Comes with 4 to elemental balance, 5% to avoid projectiles is a very nice. Corruption here is a best in slot in my opinion. I got 1000 life, which is very important. Warlock struggle to get a huge life pool. Pants, because this is a high health regen build, I prefer Drick Sect leg guards. I got a resonant of Scorched Runes. This works very well for me. Usually you want of Insight, but I don't know if it's a league feature or vanilla game feature. Insight is actually nerfed. It's just 80%, as you can see on my helm. Instead of usually supposed to be 156. This is almost double. So I decide to not roll Insight in every single slot. Helm is Ascendant Hood. This gives you more duration to devastation, less target area, so devastation is gonna hit pretty often bosses and in general stuff that have large hitbox. Don't work very well on small targets, but it's extremely potent on large groups and huge monsters. It converts all the ether damage to elemental, and it's huge because gives 50% crit damage to devastation as well. I roll Overseer of Insight. Overseer because I struggle to get armor absorption. This is caster after all, and this gives me a pretty nice boost. So I'm very durable as a caster. I get almost 100. It's not necessary. I'm not face tanking. I can face tank most of the content and a lot of the bosses and the mezzises. But because I play hardcore, I prefer to kite a little bit more. We run 43 physical resistance, pretty huge. For a caster, especially this setup, I am very durable as I said. This is with all of my buffs active. Only downside, having every single one of your defensives on auras, it's a little bit sketchy because I can get arcaned and I can put myself in a very bad situation. But for now, build performs very well. My belt of choice is Mythical Phantom Girdle. I think this is by far the best option. Some people use faction gear or craftable gear here. I think this belt gives everything that I need. This is high offensive ability belt, 7% chance to avoid melee attacks. And on top of that, high elemental damage, high electrocute frostburn, which helps a lot when you have to kite. And of course one to Arcanist. Relic, Eternity. Honestly, there is no good bonuses for a Warlock on an Eternity, so I just take the first one. Usually you can roll Overlord here as a completion bonus. It's gonna help you a little bit more with the offensive ability. I leave it like it is. I didn't spend much materials to upgrade it. Of course you can, personal preference. Medal, we run Tempest Bloodsworn Sigil of the elements. Basically full damage, prefix, suffix. And this converts Vitality Potion of the Doom Bolt as a fire damage and gives flat fire damage on top. Best in slot. Because we play hardcore, I decide to stick with Stoneplate Graves. I choose Tempest of Stone Footing. I have some problems max my movement speed, so I pick a rare suffix that provides a little bit more movement speed and some defensives as well. Also I struggle with some pierce resistance. Now basically my boots provide everything that I need, so I can shift augments and stuff. Our gloves of choice, I tried several options. By far I found Rift Warped Grasp the best. These gloves provide everything that I'm looking for. I look for a life, max life, offensive ability, Doom Bolt, and this shorten the cooldown and gives flat chaos damage, which is converted. And on top of that, minus 15 skill energy cost, which is very good because usually Doom Bolt is a very energy dense skill. Shoulders, I stick with Lohoran's Corruption. This gives me Doom Bolt, so I can hard cap it. Comes with physical resistance implicit, a high one, 6%. And basically I just roll Tempest of Scorched Ends. Scorch runes can be better, honestly, but this one works as well. It's not very bad. And I tried to corrupt this but failed several times, so no corruption here. My ring slot, I choose to run the new set. Basically that's Mythical Spark Out and Mythical Chill Out. I don't have corruption on the left one. I look for either health regen or max resistance, but I got the best in slot corruption for the right one. That's Ralliot's Blessing. This is a high crit damage proc. Of course comes with a price. 500 active health per second. But still worth it. I run 1.3k health regen without the procs, so I mitigate this. It's not big deal. Off rings, they gives a lot of bonuses to Warlock. And on top of that, tons of procs that help me with the crowd control, especially when I farm Boundless Dungeon 12. Augments, I run on the weapons, basically Malmut Soul. As I said, I have some problems with the pierce resistance. This here can be replaced with some Drake augments. but for now this works very well. My jewelry slots, I use luminary and hunt powder. Basically I struggle with life pool. By far this is ideal. If you want more damage, you can use sky shard powder. Another option, I use this for quite often, especially when I push for bosses and tiebreakers. In general, that's the gear. Stats wise, full spirit dump. I bump some physique because the gear, especially stone plate graves. Unfortunately, they are high armor piece that requires a lot of physique, but I have some reduction through the gear and the relic. No cunning and rest in spirit for damage. Skill 3, nothing much to say. Arcanist is the hardest mastery to master. You have to be very good with your cooldowns. So basically I have maxed out Skandra's elemental exchange for elemental damage boost. Hard cap overword as well. Ether resistance offensive ability and just 1 point elemental balance. Soft cap mirror. This is a very important cooldown, especially when I run Eternity. I basically reduce my cooldowns pretty often, so I can use them pretty often. Maven Sphere for damage absorption. I run usually 6 points here, soft cap, but I have 1 point left, so I just decide to put it here for a 7. Max out inner focus, self-explanatory, spirit offensive ability. Arcane Will got buffed last patch, so I run max out this as well. Helps a lot with the damage, helps a lot with the sustain, because gives 350 defensive ability. And Warlock, there is a no legit way to take a defensive ability without sacrifice all the damage. Typical hardcore move, 10 out of 10 nullification. If you play softcore, feel free to don't put so much. But for a hardcore player this is essential, as I explained in several videos. Nullification makes the difference between good Arcanist and a bad one. That's why I point Arcanist is one of the hardest masteries to master. The ability to nullificate yourself, it's just priceless in hardcore. 1 point mental alacrity, we don't care about casting speed. We are CDR caster, so 1 point fabric of reality, just for the nice boost damage to ethereals, ctonics. Depends on the situation, you can soft cap this, but for now I don't have points to spare. No brainer, Star Pact, we are CDR caster, so skill cooldown reduction is very important. Unfortunately, 25 out of 16 devastation. I can max this out, but I have to swap armor slot, and I don't want to. For example, you can use a faction armor here for 3-2 devastation, but Fate Weaver is just so good, especially for a hardcore. Prismatic Aura comes with physical resistance and all resistance in general, as you can see. This is huge. Gives you a lot of window to swap augments and stuff. Occultist, standard 6 out of 10 Curse of Frailty for a range and for the area of effect. Max out vulnerability for elemental resistance shred. Blood of Drake, both of them max out. 1 point Soleil Witchfire for a little bit defensive ability, and 1 point Second Right for a little bit vitality resistance. Always worth it, because why not? It's just 2 points. And Doombolt. Actually, Doombolt is 24 out of 12. I just retrieved 2 points and put them somewhere else. That's the skill points, pretty standard skill tree, apart from the Arcanist when I picked some hard caps and soft caps just for sustain. Devotion tree. I have to give credit here to Alex Goldfish. I try my personal trees. I run Arcane Barrier or Crap, but I found it's not very effective because I have to give up sight, which is not ideal. I end up with like 14-15k life, and this is very dangerous threshold. So I decide to test Alex Goldfish setup for the devotions, and actually works better. It's pretty standard elemental. We run, unfortunately, 3 types of reduced elemental resistance which don't stack. Basically the rings completion bonus, the elemental storm, and the perfect storm, that one that comes from the set. Which is not ideal, but this proc over here gives tons of damage. We run some absorbs. As you know, I always place Giant's Blood to some proc, like Arcane Wheel, Blast Shield, or Resilience. In this way I'm not gonna waste the huge heal, because in this case Giant's gonna proc only if I drop 25% of my life pool. We run Chariot. Another good defensive. Also the node's very good as well. We run Turtle and Triad, mostly for defensives, physical resistance and some sustain. And of course we run Ultus for the elemental resistance shred. This one is not maxed out, I didn't pay attention, unfortunately. I use some skills here that don't exist anymore in the build. And I assume I have to redo my tiebreakers, because I do all of them without this resistance shred. This is the devotions, this is the gear. Let's see how is the dummy time. This is basically you just spam Doombolt and Devastation. Also Elemental Storm, because I attach Ultus to it. As you can see, kill time is pretty insane on a single target, and in general AoE you can see Devastation stays for too long, all the procs. Let's move and I'll try again. Usually I face tank most of the content. Let's go again. I keep my nullification to nullificate myself, or if it's some dangerous boss. Let's try some. This build can clear all the content. I farm very comfortably Boundless Dungeon 12 with a single Nemesis, of course. I'm pretty sure I can do double Nemesis, but at some point definitely I'm gonna die. Because very risky on a build like this. Consummables, I run Royal Jelly Essence and Elixir of Dranku. Not much options here. Let's try some SR10 bosses. For example, I'll start with Bourbons. Because I need a better time, I assume I didn't attach my... Elemental Storm, which is huge mistake. I can take better time. This build can't participate at the tiebreakers. For example, I have one of the best time on Locker 10 and one of the best times on John Bourbons for now. I didn't test much the rest. As you can see, I debuff myself. It's very important to keep your Drake's Blood active all the time. I don't have to reposition that often, but I try to damage all the clones so I can execute them later on. Okay, this clone loose. Let's lure them here. This is not my best time, I mess up the fight a little bit. I'm gonna nullify myself. Definitely not my best time. Actually, I beat my time. I get like 14 points more. That's cool. That's the difference when you have Ultus and when you don't have. Let's check the loot. Locker 10 is a little bit more scary, but I can do it in the sake of the video. For now, this is the only tiebreakers that I attempt. But in general, build can kill every boss on the first shot, for sure. I test this several times. Just tiebreakers a little bit sketchy on some bosses. Let's see, Lunacy. Time for Locker. Locker 10 is a very dangerous one, especially if Mutator's bad and especially if he carries his weapon. If he carries his hammer, this is a very, very dangerous moment. But I have to beat my time. As you can see, pretty dangerous. I'm gonna pop up cluster here. Mirror. And let's see. I got 24 points. Which means I almost put myself close to this enjoyer. I was 40 points below him. And now I'm like 13 or 17. This is a pretty good time on locker. Especially for a build I miss a lot of corruptions and stuff. Okay, we beat our times on locker and Bourbon's clones. Let me show you Boundless Dungeon 12 and how build performs there. I can face tank most of the Nemesises. I just be careful with some of them, especially if mutator's bad. This is my advice on hardcore players, always check your mutators. Don't be so silly and so overconfident. Here we're gonna stick to the objective. I don't like to farm, these guys don't provide anything. Okay, we got Blessed, this is a very good one for us. Vengeful, kinda scary. Ether Warp, I don't care, there is no much ether damage here. And Poisonous as well. I'll say very good mutators for a start. Usually you want to click all the objects. As you can see, I instantly delete the boss. This is a very, very burst build. It's good to do all the event chests, they have a chance to give you extra loot like Waystones, the new Waystones that leak basically invent at season 7. This guy hits very hard, I don't know why. He hits much harder than all the bosses here. And harder than some of the Nemesises. Be careful with him on hardcore. This is pretty unlucky, still no ambush. Usually I get one or two at this point. I run Rune of Displacement, I forgot to mention. For me it's the best on casters. It's a teleport skill. And especially in some fights I can jump over, like crate. Damage is insanely good. There is one more stone here. No ambush. This is pretty unlucky. This boss is very important to stay away from his siphon soul. He's gonna reduce your max life. What we got? Michio. Usually I face tank him, he's not a problem. Even just you have to rotate your cooldowns properly and he is not a problem. Even if he sunders me, it's all the same. Just don't get panicked. These guys, they deal tons of damage, so be extremely careful. The most dangerous here if you roll Rutnik. Rutnik deals tons of damage. Everything else is manageable. Very bad luck with the ambushes. I'm gonna reapply my pharma. It's good to use some oil and ointments. After all is hardcore, and both of these very cheap to craft, especially on a endgame build. Zigrid, basically here I face tank him. I just nullify the Sunder. As you can see, if you use your cooldowns properly, even the hardest hitting bosses are basically manageable as a face tank. I face tank him on a purpose. He is a very large box monster, hitbox I mean. That means he's gonna take a lot of damage. This is Chase. I face tank Chase as well, no problem at all. This guy is completely harmless. Uro, no problem at all. Another face tanking Nemesis. I just repositioned the meteors. These ones. Usually I switch off the MIs, but I hunt some prefixes and suffixes. This is Perena. This is the only Nemesis that can cause me problems. Especially if I don't kill her fast enough. Because I still hunt a little bit more max fire resistance. I have to get rid of some gear. Lucia, not very hard. She moves a lot, that slows me down a little bit. Return, another easy one for this build. Just stay away from the thunder and manage your cooldowns. He's done. Unfortunately, no rare essences this run. Sometimes happens, I kill like 5 nemesis, but no luck so far. Usually I end up with 2 or 4. But it's what it is. This Enjoyer, I can face tank him for most part. I have to just nullify the thunder, and I have to mirror the next one. So mirror here. No rare relic again. Rare essence, sorry. There is one more chest. Nope. And there is the final chest here. Nothing that I need. So we leave. This is the build. This is the build in action. As you can see, very powerful. Can clear the whole content, can farm BD 12, BD 15, especially if single nemesis. I don't want to farm on this one, is a pretty nice build to risk it on a double nemesis. Definitely can do most of it, but some combinations just very rippy and I don't want to. Thank you everyone for watching. See you in the next one.